Polyester's got a bad rap, and no matter what I say, some of you will never wear polyester or even a poly blend. If that's you, feel free to stop watching this video. But for those of you who are more open-minded, you might wanna give this Uniqlo jersey long sleeve overshirt a shot. Now, overshirts come in many forms, and if you've ever shopped for one, you'd find some leaning more towards jacket territory, others that are a 50-50 hybrid between a shirt and a jacket, and ones like this that look more like a shirt and less like a jacket, which makes it super casual in my opinion, but more on that later. For now, let's start with the fabric. It's a 60% poly, 36% cotton, and 4% spandex jersey blend, and it comes in brown, olive, and navy. Yes, it's a heckload of polyester, but don't be so quick to dismiss it. Like most polyester fabrics, it has a nice drape to it. What's interesting is that polyester fabrics are usually smooth, but on this overshirt, it's a little rough, kind of like the canvas fabric you find in Carhartt, despite its high polyester content. It's unconventional if you think about it, because canvas fabrics are usually woven, but Uniqlo was somehow able to achieve a similarly rough hand feel with a knitted jersey. It's a subtle nod to the overshirt's workwear origins and definitely adds to its rugged appeal. Speaking of jerseys, most jersey fabrics, like in t-shirts and polos, have a natural stretch even without any spandex. So with the 4% spandex on this jersey fabric, you're getting a full range of motion and you'd be hard-pressed to find a stretchier overshirt elsewhere. I've worn the overshirt for an entire day and it's comfortable and doesn't really crease much, though it can crease out of the washing machine, likely due to the 36% cotton content. Just remember to iron on a low heat to prevent damage to the polyester. I also soaked this in hot water and you can see that the fabric will bleed, though it isn't noticeable on the overshirt. The fades will probably be more obvious the more I wash it, and whether this is a pro or con depends on your views on fading. But I believe most menswear dudes will appreciate how you fade. Also, because of the high polyester content, there's no shrinkage. But before we get to the measurements and fit, let's see how well it's constructed. Well, it's an overshirt, so it's literally built like a shirt. The cuffs, collar, and placket are soft and unstructured, with 10 stitches per inch along every seam, which is typical for fabric of this thickness. Now, on many cheap dress shirts, the side seams are stitched here and finished with an overlock stitch to prevent the fabric from fraying. It looks clean on the outside, but the seam allowance can flop around and irritate the skin. Meanwhile, on the Uniqlo overshirt, an additional top stitch is sewn along the side seam and sleeve seam. This top stitch creates a more durable seam, adds a rugged touch, and reduces the floppiness on the seam allowance. Overall, I'd say this additional stitch complements the rough fabric functionally and aesthetically. And like most Uniqlo garments, the seams are neat. I know it's a cliche to say that, but to maintain this level of consistency across many factories is actually quite a feat, even more so for fast fashion brands like Uniqlo. Moving on, the overshirt has neat machine-made buttonholes with no loose threads, and more impressively, shank buttons on the placket, cuffs, and pockets. Shank buttons are pretty rare at this price point, and to give you some perspective, I've seen overshirts that are over 4 times more expensive without any shank buttons. Okay, next, the two chest flap pockets. Pockets like these are usually folded at the edge, then sewn down. On woven fabrics, the edges are finished with an overlock stitch. However, on this knitted jersey fabric, the edges are not finished with an overlock stitch. I don't really think this is to cut on manufacturing costs because practically speaking, knitted fabrics are resistant to fraying, so an overlock stitch isn't necessary. Not to mention, chest pockets aren't very prone to wear and tear in the first place. Still, I know most menswear dudes won't put anything in their chest pockets because the bulges will ruin the silhouette, but I don't really care and rather put my wallet there than in my trouser pocket. The pockets have bar tags, and behind them there's a felt-like fabric to prevent the bar tags from irritating the skin, which suggests that the overshirt can be worn by itself against the skin. You can do this in most climates, but I definitely wouldn't do that under the sun in a hot and humid climate like in Singapore. I tried it and the polyester makes my body feel stuffy. Not to mention it becomes smelly as sweat gets accumulated. In terms of fit, I went with my usual size S and it fits comfortably at the shoulders, chest, and sleeves. The relaxed cut is great for 4-season layering over t-shirts, hoodies, and sweaters. I think it looks strange with a button shirt. That's just me, but let me know in the comments if you'd ever wear shirts with overshirts. It's also a little long on my short frame, so I'll probably crop it in the future. So at $49.90 at full retail, should you get this overshirt? Well, before that, just know that overshirts from every brand are always overpriced. I mean, they look like a shirt, made like a shirt, and wear like a shirt. So why aren't they priced like a shirt? I think by swapping the fabric, tweaking the design a little, slapping on a few pockets, and calling it some fancy name like overshirt or shirt jacket, our minds go into mental gymnastics mode to convince ourselves that they are somehow worth more. Look, all I'm saying is to not buy overshirts at full price. That's it, this overshirt is relatively affordable in the world of overshirts. The fabric is interesting, the construction punches above its weight, and the design is clinically basic, which can be a good or bad thing depending on your style. I wouldn't recommend this if you're always in sartorial shirts, but if your style is more casual, heritage, or streetwear, and most importantly, you're not anti-polyester, then yeah, you might want to consider this. But before that, watch this video. Until next time, stay subtle.